Welcome to Oran Park Raceway, Grand Prix for this race from 18th July 2026. Conditions: air 18.9 degrees, track 20.0 degrees, dry track. The starting grid is Row 1, Mollet P1 alongside Williams P2, Row 2, Hunt P3 alongside Van der Noord P4, Row 3, N, Morgan P5 alongside Padavesi P6, Row 4, Teising P7 alongside Robertson P8, Row 5, Lawrence P9 alongside Maddox P10, Row 6, M, Morgan P11 alongside West P12. Away they go at Oran Park, and Mollet gets the launch to head the field. Padavesi makes the move stick on Teising and takes 6th place. Further back, M. Morgan gets ahead of Maddox for 10th. Robertson and Lawrence are wheel-to-wheel in the fight for 8th. Lawrence comes through and completes that pass on Robertson for 8th position. Robertson is under pressure again here, this time side by side with Maddox for 9th. And M. Morgan picks off Robertson as well, moving into 10th. Trouble behind. Teising loses control and gets collected by Maddox, triggering a bit of a pile-up and costing ground. At the front, it's tightening right up, a 4-car queue forming behind leader Mollet. Williams remains glued to Malat in the battle for the lead, the gap only about a 10th. Current top 8. Mollet leads Williams, then Hunt, Van der Noord, N. Morgan, Padavesi, Lawrence and M. Morgan. Malat responds at the front with the fastest lap of the race, a 109.336. There's another close one in the midfield, with M. Morgan just ahead of West for 8th by around a 10th. West finds a way through and takes 8th place away from M. Morgan. Back at the front, Malat still has Williams behind him, now by roughly 3/10. N. Morgan is still holding Padavesi at bay in the fight for 5th, with only a few tenths between them. Up front, Malat responds with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 109.187. Here comes the scrap for 8th, West and M. Morgan running side by side. That battle near the front is tightening as well. Williams just ahead of Hunt for second by around a quarter of a second. The lead group is bunching right up now. Malat with Williams and Hunt tucked in behind in a three-car train for the top spot. Change for the lead. Williams goes through and takes first away from Mollett. And that's a huge setback for Malat, dropping from the lead all the way to 7th. It looks like he may have had to pit to take on fuel after starting very light. Further back, N. Morgan continues to fend off Padovese, still only about 4/10 covering 4th and 5th. At the front, it's far from settled. Williams has Hunt right there behind him, separated by just over 4/10. No change in that fight for 4th. N. Morgan remains ahead of Padovese, with the gap hovering at around 4/10. Maddox has run wide and lost momentum there, dropping back from Robertson and leaving himself vulnerable to Malat behind. Meanwhile, the leader is still under pressure. Williams only narrowly clear of Hunt, with roughly 3/10 in hand. Top 8 update. P1 Williams, P2 Hunt, P3 Van der Noord, P4 N. Morgan, P5 Padovese, P6 Lawrence, P7 M. Morgan, P8 West. Malat makes another recovery move, passing Maddox for 10th place. And Maddox stays close for the moment. Malat only just ahead in 10th by less than 2/10. The fight for 4th is tightening up, with N. Morgan still just ahead of Padovese by around 4/10. Up front, Williams continues to lead, but Hunt is right there, only about 3/10 back. Mollett puts in the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:08.976. And that benchmark is beaten straight away by Hunt with a 1 minute 08.935. There's a 3-car queue forming around 4th, headed by N. Morgan. Padovese is still glued to the back of N. Morgan in that battle for 4th, the gap about 3/10. At the front, Williams remains ahead of Hunt, separated by roughly 4/10. Here comes the move for 4th. N. Morgan and Padovese running side by side. Padovese makes it stick and takes 4th away from N. Morgan. But N. Morgan hits back immediately and retakes 4th from Padovese. Padovese is under fresh pressure now, side by side with Lawrence for 5th. That shuffle has brought Lawrence onto the tail of N. Morgan, with 4th covered by about 3/10. Further back, West is trying to hold on to 8th with Robertson right behind, only about 2/10 between them. The lead battle is getting even tighter. Williams still ahead, but Hunt is within about 2/10. Now it's N. Morgan and Lawrence alongside one another in the fight for 4th. Robertson completes the pass on West and moves into 8th. Lawrence and Padovese are wheel to wheel now in the contest for 5th. Padovese stays in front of Lawrence for the moment, with only about 2/10 in it over 5th. Just behind them, Maddox leads Tising in the scrap for 11th, the gap around 4/10. And still no breathing room for Williams at the front, with Hunt tucked in around 2/10 behind. Further back, Tising gets through on Maddox for 11th. There's pressure further down as well. Robertson holding 8th with West tucked in behind. Here they go again for 4th. Padovese and N. Morgan running side by side. Now Padovese has Lawrence right with him, with 5th and 6th covered by only a tiny margin. Tysing hasn't shaken Maddox either, still leading that fight for 11th. Another wheel-to-wheel moment between Padovese and N. Morgan in that scrap around 4th. And immediately behind, N. Morgan and Lawrence are side by side for 5th. They're still alongside one another, N. Morgan and Lawrence refusing to give an inch in that fight for 5th. Back to the lead, and Hunt remains right there with Williams, the gap still only a few tenths. Padovese continues to hang on in 4th, with N. Morgan still right on the rear of that car. Big contact there. Lawrence loses it under braking and drives into Morgan. The fight involving N. Morgan and Lawrence is still right there on screen in the battle for 5th. Race order update. Williams leads Hunt, with Van der Noord 3rd. Then it's Padovese, N. Morgan, Lawrence, M. Morgan and Robertson. At the head of the field, Williams still has Hunt looming large behind in 2nd. And once more the lead remains under pressure. Williams ahead with Hunt still right in the hunt. A relatively calm phase here, with Williams still controlling it at the front from Hunt. No major change at the head of the field, and Williams continues to lead Hunt. Here is the fight for 5th, with N. Morgan just ahead of Lawrence by around 4 tenths. White flag is out for Williams, the leader starting the final lap. Williams remains out front as the last lap unfolds, with Hunt still next in line. That battle for fifth has tightened again. N. Morgan still in front of Lawrence by about 2/10. Williams takes the win, having started second, and also keeps hold of fastest lap. Hunt comes home in second place. Van der Noord completes the podium in third. Padavese crosses the line to finish fourth. Fifth and sixth arrive together, N. Morgan ahead of Lawrence at the flag. M. Morgan finishes seventh, gaining 4 places from the grid. Robertson follows through to take eighth. West and Mollett complete 9th and 10th together, with Mollett notably ending up 9 places down. Teising finishes 11th, 4 places lower than the starting spot. Maddox rounds out the classified runners in 12th. The final result confirms it. Williams is the race winner.